there's really, I don't think, any global issue where the U.S. and China are not at the center of that issue. So the U.S.-China relationship for your future is the most consequential relationship in the world, and I look forward to hearing us unpack that today. What I have observed as I've traveled around the United States and around China, and as I've worked in the government in Washington, D.C. on China issues, is that future of the U.S.-China relationship, while Washington and Beijing are very, very important, the future of the U.S.-China relationship will not be decided in Beijing and Washington. Beijing and Washington are necessary, but they're not sufficient for a future of a positive, a constructive relationship. In fact, the future of the U.S.-China relationship is going to be decided in places like Pinellas County, in St. Johns County, in Volusia, and Clearwater, and Sanford, Orlando, Jacksonville, the communities that you all come from. Again, you're not an observer. You won't watch this relationship from afar. The decisions and how you participate in the U.S.-China relationship, whether you go into a business career, whether you go into government, whether you get more involved in the academic life, or a community leader, the future of the U.S.-China relationship will be decided in areas like Central Florida and your counterparts in China, these provinces that Mr. Gold just mentioned. This is a necessary, and Washington, we're all proud, a lot of us are from Washington, we're proud, and we do believe central government and Beijing, and you'll hear some friends from the Chinese Embassy in Washington, critically important, but not sufficient for the relationship that we need in the future. So what's going to make the difference? The difference will be our ability to master the information, but then move down the continuum towards understanding and then hopefully wisdom and how we interact in all these different spheres of influence. So that's my 2 bits on the U.S.-China relationship. It's going to be a great day as we unpack that information on the U.S.-China relationship. On this issue of information understanding, what do I mean by that? You'll start to relate to this, I think, as we unpack this. Information is what you learn in the classroom. Understanding is what you learn on the streets when you're outside the classroom. Information is facts, it's data, it's Google searches, it's Wikipedia. Information is the basics, it's theory, it's bones and flesh. It's what we're learning from our professors and our teachers. It's the important head knowledge that we accumulate through our education experiences and as we learn about each other. It's all critical. Understanding, however, is nuance. It's motivation. It's psychology. It's worldview. It's applied information. It's head moving on to the heart. It's moving from the classroom into the community. And while we understand this to be important, I think that probably resonates with you as I explain that. When you think about the relationship of the 2 largest superpowers in the United States, it becomes really, really important. As Mr. Gold quoted Ambassador Stapleton Roy, he had been an ambassador in 3 or 4 countries, senior diplomat for 40 years, and he watched, and I know Ambassador Roy, and he's got stories about we had the information, we had the data, but because we didn't understand motivation and psychology and culture and worldview, we've made some significant mistakes before. And as you all go into your futures of business and community and government and diplomacy, to master the information and then move on to the area of understanding, it really does affect the bottom line. It really helps us become more effective. It helps you make more money if you're a business person. It helps make better insight into your academic work because you've moved into this space of understanding. So it's not to play down information, it's to master the information, but then it's to move on to go from bones and flesh into soul and spirit about how we relate. And that is going to be essential to us developing a U.S.-China relationship over the decades to come that's positive, that's productive, and is not continually haunted by suspicion and strain. So the third point then, in really kind of moving into the closing of some opening remarks, is then how do we accelerate from information into our understanding? I've thought about, been working on this for quite a while in terms of my own life experience. And it's important, the issue of humility is quite important, to try to really learn from the other. Experience when you can have it, traveling in China, living in China, studying in China, and we're going to be talking more about that as well. Also very, very important. Learning how to ask good questions, and then the follow-up questions after that. Learning about culture, studying Chinese if you're able to. But what I thought I would do is really emphasize, if there was only one recommendation I could make as the quickest way to accelerate from information down the path towards understanding. If there was only one recommendation I could leave you with, and I'm going to challenge you all to consider this, it would be the recommendation of getting to know a Chinese person, or if you're Chinese, getting to know an American person. And this, of course, works across all barriers, but we're talking about the U.S.-China relationship. In my experience, where I've been able to accelerate my own journey towards understanding, it's through the people I've gotten to know in China during my time there. It's been developing in intentional ways relationships here in the United States with friends from China. As you're able to develop some personal relationships with a person from China or a Chinese person in your community, ask the questions: where you're from, tell me about your family, tell me about your culture, tell me about your history. Explain those Chinese characters to me. Ask them to write some Chinese characters and explain how those are made. What do you believe in? What's your worldview? What are the issues that concern you the most in your daily life? And then what you can do is, through those individual relationships, you can start to kind of broaden that out and ask questions about the person's community or their region of China, or what do they see about the future of their country. There's a lot of dynamic right now in China, and a lot of dynamic in U.S.-China relationship. But what I have found, it really comes down to getting to know people from China and developing friendships with people in China. That's where you get the most insight. That's where you move from the data into understanding. So my challenge for each of you as future participants in the U.S.-China relationship, wherever you live, you don't have to go to China. The great thing is China has come to Central Florida. If you're intentional about it, and this is what I'm going to ask each of you to consider doing, over the next 3 months, begin a friendship with one Chinese person. So think about your community. Think about, I see these groups of high school students. Do this maybe in groups of 2 or 3. I like Chinese food. Maybe it's about spending more time at your local Chinese food and getting to know one of the servers there and chatting with them. But I want to challenge each of you as future participants in the U.S.-China relationship to, over the next 3 months, begin one friendship with a Chinese person and watch where that will take you in your future in the U.S.-China relationship. I want to thank the organizers again, and I look forward to spending the day with you. Thank you very much.
I'm so happy to be here in Central Florida University to participate in this symposium and panel discussion on China and U.S. what hold the future. And the final panel discussion on the topic of knowledge may not understanding. I just feel it can't be more true to say that knowledge may not understanding, since as far as I'm concerned, that knowledge comes to the brain of the person, and people need to learn so much knowledge through the whole entire life and using their brain. Well, understanding, as much as I'm concerned, that goes to the heart of the person. So maybe that's the reason why knowledge may not understanding, because the knowledge and understanding are responsible by the different organ of the human body. So, but how can we link the knowledge and the understanding together? I think the most important way is the communication. It's really hard to imagine a person can understand others or something else without the communication or contact with others. So the same thing happened, I think, in the international community. The communication, contact, and dialogue are always the ways to solve the problems or conflicts between the countries, not anything else. So let's come to the topic of today's symposium. China and the U.S., what holds the future? As people say, Sino-U.S. relationship is one of the most important bilateral relationships in today's world. In the globalized world, none of the global problems is to be solved without a close collaboration between China and the United States. Therefore, mutual understanding, cooperation, and communication between the two countries is particularly important for the future development of the bilateral relations. Education cooperation and exchange played a key role in communication between the people of the two countries. And strengthening the educational cooperation between China and the United States contribute to deepening mutual understanding and contact. And actually, we did a lot on that through the joint efforts. Since the establishment of the diplomatic relationship between China and the United States, both official and non-governmental education cooperation has taken place frequently and vigorously. The Chinese and U.S. education cooperation and exchange has become an integral part of Sino-U.S. relations. Food for cooperation have been conducted in basic education, language education, vocational education, and higher education. Personnel exchange, especially the youth exchange, is the focus of educational exchange. Young people are the hope of the future of development of both China and the U.S. The youth exchanges will enhance the mutual understanding and friendship between our two peoples. In order to strengthen this kind of exchange, both President Obama and President Hu Jintao agreed for establishment of the Sino-U.S. high-level consultation on people-to-people exchanges. Both sides agreed that the establishment of the Sino-U.S. high-level consultation on people-to-people exchange, abbreviated as the CPE, is conducive to promote China-U.S. people-to-people exchange to a new level. The setup ceremony on the first meeting of CPE was held in Beijing, May 25, 2010. And as a co-chairman of CPE, Chinese State Councilor Liu Xiang and U.S. Secretary of State Madam Hillary Clinton attended the ceremony and presided over the meeting. Under this framework, China and the U.S. will expand the cooperation in education, science, technology, culture, and sports. Educational exchange is one of the most important parts in a people-to-people exchange framework, as well as a focus for the development. Both China and the U.S. will further strengthen the cooperation in student exchange, talent training, academic exchange, scientific and research cooperation, language education, and other fields for the mutual benefit and a win-win result. The establishment of CPE is a major creation in the history of Sino-U.S. relations, and is the result of advancing development of bilateral relations, marking the deepening of a new field in bilateral relations with great practical significance and far-reaching historical significance. The establishment of CPE will further deepen the Sino-U.S. people-to-people exchanges and cooperation, contribute to build a cooperative partnership based on mutual respect and mutual benefit. The second meeting of the CPE will be held in Washington, D.C. this spring, actually the next week. And we look forward to a greater development of Sino-US relations in the field of education, science, technology, sports, culture, and youth exchange under the framework of CPE. Just now I mentioned the education exchange is one of the most important part of the communication between our two countries. And students exchange is one of the another important parts of educational exchange. Chinese President Hu Jintao paid a visit to the United States early this year. Both President Obama and President Hu called for a more student exchange in their joint conferences. Chinese government welcomes foreign students to study in China and provide necessary assistance for them to study in China. Since the founding of the People's Republic of China, especially since the reform and opening up, the China and US two-way overseas education has developed continuously. According to the incomplete statistics, since the reform and opening up, more than 400,000 Chinese students and scholars have studied in the United States. And currently, about 130,000 Chinese students are studying in the United States. And at the same time, about 20,000 American students are studying in China right now. And most of them have already become folk ambassadors to promote China and US cooperation and exchange in trade, education, culture, and to enhance the mutual understanding and friendship between our two peoples. They have played an irreplaceable role in consolidating and enhancing the China-US relations. President Obama announced a 100,000 strong initiative in November 2009 in Shanghai to support and encourage 100,000 American students to pursue the opportunity to study in China in the next 4 years. This program was listed as an important student exchange program under the framework of CPE. Facing the U.S. government initiative, Chinese government not only pledged 10,000 Chinese bridge scholarship, but also has taken a variety of additional ways to help to implement this plan to ensure the success of this program. First, China will jointly build English website to provide various information for studying in China for U.S. students, including the information about the foreign student receiving institutions in China, the Chinese government scholarship information, and so on. At the same time, with the construction of the website, pamphlets and promotional materials are also provided through the various channels to U.S. educational institutions, organizations, and individuals. The second, Sino-US high-level consultation of education has already become a mechanism to determine the future of development of education and a priority between the two countries. And the implementation of 100,000 strong initiative is going to be an important component of working in the Sino-US high-level consultation of education. First results are informed to each other in a timely manner to access the implementation and the plan to ensure the policy and measures are continuously improved. And third, we also use the NAFSA, the Association of International Educators, and the College Board, Asia Society, the annual meetings, and some other private sectors as a platform. We jointly organize the education fairs and the seminars to promote the international student exchange. So with all these various ways, we encourage the American students to study in China, as well as Chinese students to study in the United States. And to take this chance, I would like to take a few minutes to say something about the development of Confucius Institute in the United States. Currently, the Confucius Institute is the organization to promote Chinese language, education, and Chinese culture, which have newly emerged in response to the increasing need for the learning of Chinese language worldwide in recent years. Up to now, there are about 300 Confucius Institute worldwide in 88 countries and 72 in the United States. They have worked as a good platform for the collaboration and exchange between China and United States organizations, especially the universities and colleges, which have contributed a lot for the promotion of Chinese language and culture. The rapid development of Confucius Institute represents the increasing need for Chinese language learning. Although the development for the Confucius Institute in the world and in the United States is rapid, but still the number of the Confucius Institute is not enough in terms of meeting the requirement of learning Chinese language, which can be seen from the number of American universities still in the waiting list for setting up a Confucius Institute in their campus. There are about at least 20 American universities still in the waiting list for the setting up of a Confucius Institute. I hope a Confucius Institute in the United States success in the future, and also hope you will continuously support and the construction and development of Confucius Institute. Let me go back to the topic of today's discussion. I just feel communication and build a cooperative partnership based on mutual respect and mutual benefits are the way to bridge the cultural divide. Thank you. Thank you very much.